On va passer maintenant, on a parlé de taxe carbone tout à l'heure avec M. Percebois. Je crois que ce matin, on a aussi parlé de taxe carbone. Il y a des gens qui sont qui ont plus ou moins confiance dans ce mécanisme. Alors je crois que Robert Bell, qu'on va accueillir maintenant, n'a pas beaucoup confiance dans l'efficacité que peut avoir la taxe carbone, mais par contre a un autre mécanisme à nous proposer. C'est un des enjeux de cette COP 21, et donc on laisse la parole à Robert Bell.
Thank you for that very warm introduction. And Miriam, thank you for inviting me again. And I can't see my speech, so I'll have to wear my glasses. Okay, look, I'm here to talk about a possible green bubble in the context of COP21 and an energy transformation. So let me put away the first part immediately, although I'll get back to it. There is no green bubble now at all, period. The cascading price of Vestas wind systems a couple of days ago should illustrate that perfectly well to everybody. But I'm going to get back to there could be a green bubble. I'll show you how that could happen. COP21 is going to produce loudly proclaimed carbon reduction goals for a number of countries. A lot of people think that's just publicity, it's not no great thing. I think it's a spectacular achievement. I am enormously optimistic about COP21 if those carbon goals are transformed into renewable energy portfolio standards and followed up by the proposal that I'm going to give today. So how do we achieve those reduction goals? It won't be by the method that the world has been following so far, which is discouraging what we don't want. That is what has failed. Cap and trade did work for some small things, but for the big one, CO2 reduction, global warming, utter failure. It was supposed to combine market efficiency with government integrity. But what we got was market integrity combined with government efficiency. So we ended up with a ridiculous price on carbon, $5 to $7 euros. It's just a joke. It's so bad that even the Pope knows that it doesn't work. He described carbon trading as, quote, a new form of speculation which would not help reduce emissions of polluting gases worldwide. Now, the Pope is not infallible, but he sure got that right. So that leaves a carbon tax to get rid of what we don't want. Good luck. Nearly every leader in a major country who proposes that needs to find another line of work right away. That happened in Australia. It happened twice in a row. The two governments in a row in France have backed down from a carbon tax. So even if a carbon tax would be a good idea, if we could get one, a good one, I'd be in favor of it. We can't get it. If we could get it, how big would it have to be? I mentioned this morning, I'll repeat it. $100 per ton of CO2 has been mentioned by a few people here. That's not good enough. To get a ton of CO2 in the air, you have to burn 3 barrels of oil. So that's $33 a barrel of oil. Add that to the current selling price, which is about $44, you got $77. That discourages nothing. Okay. Maybe $300 per ton, which would give a $100 per barrel tax, but then you have the problem of countries, best left unknown, the usual suspect countries on the buy side and on the sell side that might not completely adhere to the international agreement and would bootleg the oil. All right. A few months ago, 6 fossil fuel companies signed and proposed a joint request for a carbon price, and the CEO of Total said $40 a ton, $13 a barrel, in other words. It's nothing, it's a joke for oil, but it's great for killing coal. It would get rid of coal, and those 6 companies, they all produce natural gas. So this would allow them to sell their natural gas much longer. How much longer? The answer comes amazingly from the Saudi oil minister, Ali El-Naimi. He said 25 to 35 years from now, his country, Saudi Arabia, will stop using oil and will be exporting solar electricity, maybe to us, if we have a carbon tax to supposedly give natural gas as a bridge fuel. It's a bridge we would jump off of when we got to it. Okay, so here we have the greatest scientific experts on climate, the IPCC, the Pope, and the Saudi oil minister all saying essentially the same thing. That means we better get serious. What does getting serious mean? Normally, and in this case especially, it means spending a lot of money. So how much do we have to spend to buy our way out of global warming by building a renewable and energy conservation infrastructure? The International Energy Agency gave a figure of $1 trillion for a number of years, and others say the figure's higher than that. Right now, fossil fuel is getting an investment. Last year it got $1 trillion. So an obvious solution is to try to switch the investment from fossil fuel into renewable energy. It's a hell of a big switch. Last year, roughly last year, trailing 12 months, $270 billion went into renewable energy infrastructure. In other words, 1/4 of that went into fossil fuel. I defined that ratio a year ago at the same conference, the hope-doom ratio, the ratio espoir-deluge, deluge in the sense of Louis XV, après moi le deluge, since every nickel, every dollar that goes into fossil fuel is moving us closer to the real deluge. But the problem is that oil investors do not want to switch. Even with the massive drop in the price of oil, over 60%, about 60%, they don't want to switch. The majors have cut their investment by $60 billion into oil. Is that shifting into renewables? No, they're going to use it all for dividends paid to shareholders. So the shareholders don't pay attention to the IPCC, the Pope, and the Saudi oil minister. Okay, so this is what we need to do. Stop what we've been doing and try something else. We need to reward what we want, not punish what we don't want. And what I am proposing is tax sheltering all renewable energy investment. Taxes have the anti-leverage effect. That is, it's just money pulled out of a system and you get a very little payoff for it. Tax shelters have a leverage effect. A little bit of money pulled out of government coffers gives a massive payoff, if it's done right, in investment. Okay, tax shelters work for the internet, for cell phones, for e-commerce. Why not for saving us from global warming? KPMG, the accounting giant, gave a report on 30 countries, their tax incentive plans. China, one reason for China's enormous buildup in renewable energy infrastructure, we know about coal, but they've had an enormous buildup in renewables, is that they tax shelters and deductions. The US shale gas boom is based on a 1916 tax dodge. A tax dodge. Allows the full depreciation of the whole in the year it's drilled. That has resulted in the CEO of Chesapeake Energy, one of the big drillers, proudly proclaimed that his company drilled, from the time it was founded in 1989, 16,000 holes. They never paid any federal taxes, or almost not. You can see why. Do the arithmetic. $3 to $5 million per hole times 16,000. They also had another tax dodge dating from 1926, the oil depletion allowance. That's 15% off the gross. Now, this is very important. These tax dodges are not budget line items. They are a little bit of text buried in an arcane tax code. After a little while, people forget about them. They're just there. They're like the bilge water in a rusting old ship, and they just stay there. And that's how we could get out of the story. Tax revenue losses, the shale gas boom in the US produced a tax bonanza from taxes on salaries, small businesses around the drillings, even if the drillers didn't pay anything, nothing. So President Hollande could, the Financial Times, just 10 days ago, had an article, $1 to $2 trillion in US corporate money is sitting on the sidelines waiting for some place to invest it. President Hollande could make it easy for them to find a good investment. Just make renewable investment tax-free, creating thousands of jobs, and make COP21 a legendary success. Would this tsunami of money produce a green bubble? Well, IPC scientists, the Pope, Ali Al-Naimi are all saying the same thing. It would be nice to find out if it would produce a green bubble. Now, do I have another minute to?
Very short, maybe 30 seconds,
Okay.
yeah?
There's technology out there which could produce a bubble. A bubble happens when investors are mesmerized by a dream of vast riches, and they jump in. For the green bubble, the dream is limitless pollution-free energy. Usually, you need the promoters need a little ammunition to trigger that dream. For example, shale gas was hydraulic, fracturing, and horizontal drilling. For the green bubble, there are plenty of possibilities. Floating wind turbines, which could produce armadas of energy. There's a new hydraulic drive system for wind turbines which doubles and smooths out their output. Lithium-ion car batteries, which will be available in a year and a half. The Renault Zoe will have a range of 400 kilometers. Put those batteries in a plug-in hybrid car, you could get an all-electric drive for 90% of the driving. Plug-in hybrid would be like the Chevy Volt. And the other 10% could be handled by the existing ethanol, bad ethanol, the rotten ethanol that everybody hates. That could handle the remainder. We could kiss oil goodbye. So, thank you very much.
Merci, merci Robert.